know that Hollywood loves to mock Christ. That's nothing new, unfortunately. Frankly, they do it on the daily, although it's not always out in the open. That's why when a story like this one comes along, it serves as a blatant reminder that while they would never mock the leaders of other religions like Muhammad or Buddha, Jesus Christ is fair game in their eyes. To start off, the Hollywood Bowl, a popular venue in downtown LA, recently announced that they will be doing Jesus Christ Superstar this spring. Their lead star cast as Jesus Christ? The Wicked Witch from Wicked, Cynthia Erivo.
I didn't know that was happening.
I've seen it, yeah.
Cynthia Erivo is set to play Jesus Christ in Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl this summer. I think this is the best comment. Keep going, y'all are doing great at trying to win back normal Americans. Yep, because everyone thinks this is a good idea. Someone else said, did you know that Jesus was actually a bald, black, vegan, lesbian woman? News to me.
That's really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
In truth, that movie is already highly blasphemous, but she won't be truly brave and stunning till she plays Muhammad. Now, is that opera controversial in its own right? Yes. But rather than attempt to treat the namesake character of Jesus Christ with even an ounce of sacrality by making the character even look like Jesus is just too much for Hollywood. It's peak intentional mockery, under the guise, of course, of creative expression. Just like how certain Wi-Fi networks can exploit your data under the guise of free Wi-Fi. Now, going online without ExpressVPN is like putting all your passwords and credit card numbers on a big billboard for the whole world to see. In today's connected world, we're constantly jumping between networks, grabbing coffee at our local cafe, working from hotels, airports, etc. What many of us don't realize is that these convenient connections can be a playground for cyber criminals. When you browse on these unencrypted networks, your personal information, from your passwords to your banking details, are vulnerable to anyone with the right tools. That's why ExpressVPN has changed my online life completely. As someone who is always working from random coffee shops on random Wi-Fi networks, I used to always worry about my online privacy. But now that I use ExpressVPN with just one click of a button, my connection is encrypted and I work worry-free. ExpressVPN keeps my data secure and my browsing private. The best part is that it works on all my devices with lightning-fast speeds that never slow me down. I honestly could not imagine going online without ExpressVPN now that I use them, and they're just so convenient. Just one click and I'm protected. So find out how you can get 4 months free by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link in the description below, or by going to expressvpn.com/Conrad. Unfortunately, this was not the only story about mocking Christians that I saw this week. A woman named Avery Woods, who runs a podcast under Alex Cooper's Unwell Network, had a clip from her podcast episode with Harry Jowsey go viral. Part of me doesn't even want to show this clip because it was so vile and so disgusting, but I also don't think that you can fully understand what she said by me summarizing it and also missing the body language of the whole podcast clip. So I am going to show it. Be warned, though, if you don't want to hear something very vile, skip ahead the next 45 seconds because it's actually appalling. She deleted it from the podcast episode on YouTube, but the episode is still up. So they just cut out after the fact this comment and a couple other comments she made because it wasn't even just about Jesus, that she was just unhinged. Anyways, here it is.
It's always the really Christian men. Isn't that so funny?
And that's why I'm not even Christian.
Same, never been religious, but all my haters have like blessed mama 4 in their bio, and they're like, you're a fat, ugly mom, you're a whore. But then in your bio, it's like Psalms 369, blessed mommy of 4.
Yeah, like Jesus is gonna spank you, lady, if you keep it up.
Yeah, literally, he's gonna bend you over and Jesus is gonna go poo pirate on your ass if you keep up this bullshit.
I hope he does. Jesus.
They deserve it with no lube.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Anyway.
It's just like such an insane thing to say. There's so much to unpack that I don't even want to unpack because it's just disgusting. We'll just read what people have to say. When Harry is speechless, you know you went too far. Harry is not some man with a strong moral compass, but even he was unsure, but also he was still feeding into it, so I'm not going to give him the credit that he didn't say anything. He was also fully engaged in this conversation. So he could have said something if he was actually uncomfortable, and he didn't. My jaw hit the floor. Yeah. Wow, I have no words, actually, and I'm not even religious. The creator who posted that commented and said, yeah, very crazy thing to say. Someone said something mean to her, so apparently they deserve to be raped. Because that's the other part of this. It wasn't just a sexual joke. It was like implying that he would be raping someone. I mean, it like makes my skin crawl. The mocking of Christianity is not cute or funny. How dare you insult someone's religion, Avery? This is horrible. Another one of her fans said, wow, the comments about Jesus are extremely disrespectful. I don't think it takes a Christian to even say that. How do you expect to be respected if you can't respect others? Really sad. Exactly, because it wasn't even just Christians who were upset by this. All it takes is some common sense and common decency to know that mocking Jesus is so vile. Unfortunately, I did listen to the rest of the podcast, and it was vile actually for a myriad of other reasons too. One person said, I'm only curious about the I know I'm married, but part. Because she, a married mother of two, asked this single man if he would be interested in doing her if she was not married, of course. It wasn't even if she was, she literally said, I know I'm married, but would you, F me, basically? The podcast had tons of reasons that people were pissed because it was a single guy and she was just talking about sex with him the entire time and talking about him and him being good at things. It was so messed up. And I think that a lot of her fans even felt that. And then at the end, when they made the comments about Jesus, it was like, oh, okay, so it was messed up. I think it affirmed that maybe this is going a very dark direction. And then you couldn't deny it once she said things about Jesus.
Do you know if she said stuff like this in the past?
Apparently, since joining the Unwell Network, she has gotten more unhinged and more like this. Yeah, really is the Unwell Network. Spiritually unwell, mentally unwell. Someone else said, this is so gross, talking about his size, flirting, mocking Christians, insulting women who had children and not C-sections because she had C-sections. And so she was insulting women who did not have children via C-section, that they were not as good and put together down there. Again, saying all of this to a single man and then asking him if he would hook up with her. Imagine if a man did all of that. And someone responded and said, canceled immediately. I literally thought the same thing.
Who is this guy, Harry?
Harry was on Dancing with the Stars. I know that. And I know nothing else about him. I think he's an influencer. I know, according to this podcast, he also has an OnlyFans that her gay producer loves to watch. And she loved to talk about how her producer loves to watch him. I mean, there was no level of class represented in that episode at all. Which is my next point, be discerning who you listen to. I just wanted to make that comment. Because there also were a lot of Christians who apparently were listening to her, but then were like, sorry, Avery, we have to draw the line here. She's doing a lot of other things that I would argue maybe we shouldn't be listening to, but to each their own. Ultimately, though, she apologized a few days later, but the apology was lackluster at best. It was one of those okay, I'm not gonna have any makeup on. I'm gonna do it as soon as I roll out of bed so I look all like I haven't been able to sleep. So contrived, but it's 5 minutes of her not really apologizing, more so saying, I'm sorry you felt that way, but I'm a comedian and sometimes my jokes are taken out of context and it's no.
All right, I just woke up. I didn't want any more time to pass before I sat down and talked about this. I don't usually do videos like this or address whatever hate is going on in my direction,
but you were the one causing the hate this time. So maybe that's why you've had a bit of a change of heart.
This is one of those things where I never ever want to offend people and their beliefs.
You don't want to Really? If that's your goal in life, then why do you have a podcast like that? If you're trying to have some wholesome, then make a wholesome podcast. Talk about anything besides the depravity that you love to talk about. As a mother, too, maybe.
First of all, I just want to say, my podcast is a comedy podcast, and there are jokes that I should not make that cross lines, and I made a joke that crossed a line, and I'm so sorry. I have been very, very open about religion in general. You know, David's father was a pastor, and we've talked very openly on my podcast multiple times about our beliefs and why we believe those things.
She started the podcast off by saying she's not religious. She literally mentioned religion in the beginning of the podcast, which I thought was interesting given where it devolved to. But she says that, but in the beginning, she's like, yeah, I'm not religious. So she just totally throws it out the window anyways. So I didn't know, her husband's father's whatever.
It almost makes it worse because it's your husband's father is a pastor and this is how...
Yeah, whatever. What does that even matter or mean? Apparently nothing in her eyes.
I never, ever want to bash religion, bash someone's beliefs. We have so many people in our lives that are religious people and faithful people.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep pausing this apology, maybe because I think she could have done it a million other ways that is much better. Don't just keep saying, I don't want to do this, I don't do this. The point is, you have. So now you should just start off by being like, I fudged up and I did say that and so I'm sorry. The end. 30 seconds would have been way more effective than this, I don't do this, this is what I'm about. You literally did it. So just apologize and move on. And then be better. Be better.
There are certain jokes that I should not make. And I regret that wholeheartedly. I first of all, I need media training. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I'm just like,
Clearly, doesn't take some expert to know that.
Also, how long has she been an influencer? She should, like, media training.
Right.
I think it takes just common sense.
It's just common sense. You're not some Hollywood actress that needs to be media trained on how not to talk about a certain movie. Like, just say sorry.
I also just want to say, the episode that I did with Harry was scripted. These were questions that were, written by producers.
Her gay producer, who she threw under the bus in the beginning of her episode and exposed his sex life. She's like, it wasn't me. It was my gay producer, Scotty. Blame Scotty. Her saying it's scripted also. That was a side remark. The little thing that we witnessed about Jesus was definitely not scripted. She pulled that out of her mind and decided to say it for some reason. Maybe the other questions that she asked Harry were scripted and whatever, but that part that most people have issue with, was definitely not scripted. As a producer myself, is really funny. Like, I didn't say this horribly vile thing. My producer told me to say it, and I have no free will. Like, what? Shut up.
When I brought up religion, there was no intention behind it besides explaining that a lot of the hate that I get is from people that are religious and have Bible verses in their bio. And that is because I speak on subjects that are very taboo.
She was making a point by saying the first part of that about people who are religious messaging her the meanest comments. She had a point that she could have made. And then she just took that, became so vile that to most of us, it's sort of like, well, no wonder you're getting messages that are so angry from Christians. For her to be like, well, they're mean to me, so I'm just going to go completely degrade the religion. No wonder they're mad at you. No wonder they say angry things. She almost had a point. And then, poof, blew it.
That was what I was trying to say. The comments after were completely unnecessary, and I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said anything like that.
Okay, 3 minutes and 18 seconds. She apologized. Wow. I'm not even religious, but man, that was crazy work. You don't have to be religious to be respectful, but I do wish you the best. I do wish you the best, and I'll never watch your content ever again. I never watched it to begin with, so that was the sentiment from a lot of Christians. As a Christian, I think giving her grace that her experience with other Christians may have not led to a positive example of Jesus, I rather hold frustration with those people. I would say we can do both. We can call out and boldly denounce those kinds of blasphemous statements and demand a level of respect within our society. Jesus was loving and patient with people, and he was bold and strong and blunt and unafraid to rock the boat. As a believer, that breaks my heart because I want her to get it. And I want her to understand why she has outraged so many people. And not because I want her to feel guilty, but I want her to also get a relationship with Jesus. It's hard because I see that and I want to be angry and yell at her and be like, how dare you? And then I want to say, how dare you, because he's so great and he would be so great in your life. And that's the tricky part about watching something like this. Regarding her comments, there are a million more things that I could say about what she said, but I think the majority of us can agree that it was sick. And it would be easy, frankly, to just end the episode here. But before her vulgarity, like that one commenter pointed out, she shared her experience with Christians and how she would go to their accounts of the mean commenters, and they would end up being the ones with Bible verses in their bios. Are there people who act a certain way or do say certain things? Sure, but that doesn't represent Christianity as a whole. And I hate that she's painted it that way. I think that's why many of us are so angry. It's also a reminder to all Christians that our actions directly reflect the character of our Savior, especially when we speak openly about him online or have our Bible verses in our bio. Non-believers will also look to that when making decisions about their own faith. Christians mirror Jesus, and when we do so well, it can draw people closer to him, but when we don't, it can push people further away. It's easier said than done because you have people acting like this, and you just want to go keyboard warrior on them. I get it. That's a lot of pressure, frankly. But even as frustrating and frankly disheartening as the internet can be and as creators like her can be, they don't get the final say. And those who mock Jesus need him too. He was mocked and he told us we would too be mocked. But how do we react to that? We call it out, but then we still try to welcome them in. We say this is wrong and here's why. And here's who this man is that you've just degraded. And I hope that people in her life can show her that. in a loving way. At the beginning of Avery's podcast with Harry, she explicitly asked him if he's religious. And he said he's not, but he's actually working on it because people in his life told him the man upstairs would be good for him. And for someone like Cynthia Erivo, she grew up as a Roman Catholic, but in recent years has said that she's strayed away from it. All that to say that I just wanted to encourage believers that he calls us to lean in and cling to his word even when the world laughs or mocks at us. And even in the midst of the name-calling and the mockery, our actions can end up leading people back to him. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. If you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. And last but not least, if you want more content, you can follow me on X and Instagram. Thanks so much and have a great day.